All right, we'll just wait one more minute here to get started. Thanks for joining today's webinar for how to use OneSignal push notifications. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started here. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Megan Patrolak, and I work on the OneSignal Enterprise team here. So I work with a lot of our larger clients on helping them get started with OneSignal's push notifications. All right, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. So you should be able to see what the OneSignal dashboard looks like kind of in the view here. So this will be about a 30-minute demo. And again, if you have questions, feel free to submit them and we'll try to get to all of them. So many of you might be using the OneSignal dashboard today for both web and mobile push notifications. You might see these push notifications come across my screen throughout the demo. Those are just some of the clients that we're working with today. So OneSignal powers over 500,000 mobile apps and websites. And we're actually doing a lot of work to kind of build out the platform. So today I'll be showing you some of the new features that we've kind of started to implement so you can make the most of your OneSignal tool. So essentially when you're on the OneSignal homepage, you'll see the different apps that your organization has. For this example, we're just kind of going to use a test account that my product team has put together for us. So this example is called Zach's Awesome Megacorp. You can see the total number of subscribed users that you have here and your total number of users here. The main difference between subscribed users and total users is the subscribed users are those that are opted into notifications. So when you created your OneSignal account, you probably set up a prompt to actually opt those users into notifications. You can do a custom prompt, or we have a few canned out-of-the-box prompts. If you have questions about those, we can send out some links to our documentation, which show the different options for prompting your users. You can also see your organizations on this screen. So you'll be able to see, if you have different users subscribed to the organizations, you can create a new organization if you're the organization admin, and you can associate different apps with that organization. So jumping into the dashboard here, you'll be able to see all of the different platforms that your users are subscribed to. So this is the main screen where you will see that. Again, you'll see your total subscribed. And I'll point out some interesting things about the data here. So this is actually where you can see the total number of users that have revoked access. So you can see over time, if users are unsubscribing for whatever reason, you can start to optimize your messaging strategy accordingly. So jumping into total users, when you start to think about how you want to segment your users and really try to get the value out of sending your users notifications, we think about notifications being timely, relevant, and precise. So the last version of that is precise. So who are you messaging? To do this, you're going to go ahead and create a new segment. I'll give you kind of an overview of what all of your user data looks like. There's a few different columns up here, and these are actually things that are pulled in automatically through the OneSignal SDK for both mobile and web. So if you want to target users based on the time they were last active or device type or number of sessions, you'd be able to do that. You can also add additional tagging data right here. If you use a Google Tag Manager or like a Telium Tag Manager, this is where you would add those data tags. They can also be custom data tags. An example of a data tag would be if someone came to your site and opted in across a specific page for web push. So if they opted in across maybe a news or like a business category page, you would tag them as a business reader and then subsequently send them notifications that align with their interests. So that's kind of gets more into kind of the messaging strategy around it, but this is kind of where you start to figure out that segmentation. If you have an internal DMP or an internal data house where you store information about emails or you store information about your users, you're actually able to pass all of that data to OneSignal and segment based on that. We have a lot of documentation around how we integrate with partners like Salesforce and Adobe, so we can send that over after the demo as well. You can also import and export this user data, which can be really valuable if you wanted to, parse out different segments accordingly. You can do it this way. So just jumping back into the segment view here, you can create a segment. So say, for instance, I wanted to take a look at all users that had been active in the last 24 hours. This would be a really great way to understand users that first came to the site and wanted to receive a message to maybe come back to the site. And this works for mobile apps as well. So if I have a mobile app and I want to re-engage users after they first sign up, maybe they haven't taken a specific action, and I want to send them a message to say, complete your account or take a specific action. Maybe it's a ride sharing app and you haven't taken a ride yet. You could send a notification to say, welcome, try your first time out or something to that extent. So welcome segment. So less than 24 hours, you can just add this filter. You can add additional filters. This is where you would add those data tags that we were talking about. So if you wanted to say anyone that had been active in less than 24 hours and the category was business news, you'd be able to do that. So you could just set this up right here. The other thing you're able to do as well is if you have more of an e-commerce strategy, you can actually look at the total amount spent in-app. So this is actually in-app purchases, and this can help you to determine different ways that you can monetize your users. So if you see a user is more inclined to make in-app purchases than another user, you can start to message them differently. Other things you can do is you can actually set up a cart abandonment strategy. So you'd be able to do this as well via data tags, which is always great. So messaging users after they've left items in their cart to re-engage them. And then you can also do it based on country. So if you only want to message, say, your European users or your users in Asia, you can do that. And I'll also show you how there's different localization options available in the dashboard. So I'll just go ahead and create this session and say create segment, and we're off. So I'll actually jump into the messaging here, and you can create a typical message by just going into the messaging segment and creating a new push notification. The other way that I like to do it is actually by creating templates. Oh, we have a question here. How do you test notifications on live product data? Oh, I can show you how to test the notifications as well. We'll jump into that as well. So for instance, if you wanted to create a new push template, you would be able to do template name, and we can call this webinar, webinar template. You can create different localized languages. So if you have English, Arabic, you would essentially just click on the notification, and then you would type in Arabic. So that's one great way to do it, to message your users in different languages. Typically, you'll see higher click-through rates, actually, if you are localizing the language, which is always nice, or if you have a very wide user base, it's great to connect with your users on that level. To site, check add for 15% off your first. So you can welcome your user to the site. So thanks for coming. You can add emojis, you can add a subtitle. You can really get creative with your notifications. In this view, you're able to see the different windows. Amazon, so we have different essentially devices that you're able to see the notification across, and this is just the preview. So whether you're doing Android, iOS, or web notifications, you can see that as well. All right, we have a few questions here. How to create a dynamic notification template, and any way to integrate OneSignal with ClickFunnels. Okay, so I'll try to get to all of these questions. Essentially, to create more of a dynamic template, you would just create this specific template, and then you'd be able to iterate on top of it. So if you wanted to create a standardized template that had all of your notification information, like your logo and things like that, as you're able to add right here, actually, you would just duplicate that notification, and then you could create new message content. And you're also able to update that through the API. So if you wanted to create a standardized template and then constantly update the template with new messaging, you're able to do that. All right, let's see. So badges, sound, category. You can essentially add a bunch of different media and a bunch of different options to really make your notifications pretty specific to your brand, which is always great. With Android, there's a ton of customization options along with Google Chrome as well. So you can add an icon, you can add images, you can add badges. You can add action buttons, which I always think are really interesting. And the one other thing I'll scroll up to here is actually where you add your deep linking. So you can add media, and I'll show you how to do all of that. So this is actually where the deep linking lives. So if you wanted to add a deep link when a user received a notification to actually launch them to the page that the notification is sent from, and not just your home screen URL or your app, your open app screen, you'd be able to add the deep linking data here. This is your launch URL, so the URL that the user is launched to. Collapse ID, so you can collapse the notifications. That's just more of like an aesthetic kind of user flow thing. Let's see if I can jump to some of these questions. Okay, let's see. Is there any way to integrate OneSignal with ClickFunnels? I'm not sure. I think this is more around automated messaging, so we can try to get to that as well. All right, so let's see. This is the launch URL. These are the action buttons. Okay, we did this. So I'm gonna go ahead and save this template. And you'll be able to see all of the information about the template here. So then next we're going to go back to the template screen. And since we called this welcome to webinar, we can do view edit. You can create a new message or you can create duplicate. So this is a really easy way to target your notifications. The really nice thing about this is actually the notifications are aggregated at a high level here, the data. So if you send multiple notifications from one template, you'll actually receive all of the aggregate analytics data right here by template, which is pretty nice. You can go into automated messaging, so you can create a new automatic message. Let's see, how to update templates from APIs dynamically. We'll send over some documentation after the webinar that includes information on our APIs, so you can see that. But essentially, you're able to do that. So for next steps, you would actually just add an automated message. So this would be webinar welcome, email, welcome, I guess a welcome push, not an email, push notification. So this again is the example of all users that have come to your site for the first time or your app for the first time, and you want to send them a notification that says, thanks for coming. You want to send them a promotional message. You're going to use the template that we just put together, so the webinar template, and then you can use your welcome segment. You can also exclude users in segments, so that's another way to kind of more granularly target your users. And I'll kind of go back to what I said in the beginning of the webinar for those of you that may have missed it. The way that we think about notifications are that all notifications should be timely, relevant, and precise. So it's kind of the who, what, and when of when you're sending notifications. Who are you sending the notifications to? What does that segment look like, essentially? And then you have a few delivery options. So with the automated messaging, you can use intelligent delivery. Essentially, intelligent delivery is an AI tool that OneSignal has built, which allows you to determine when a user is most likely to receive a notification. So for instance, if I have a number of apps downloaded on my phone and I typically am active between 1 and 3 p.m., our system will actually know to target that user between 1 and 3 p.m. based on their activity and how frequently they use your app. So all of that data is kind of taken into consideration when we message them. And that will always happen within 24 hours of sending the notification. The other things that you can do is you can actually just set the notification to be automated to anyone that has not been active in the last 24 hours, and then 2 hours have elapsed. So anyone that falls into that segment, if they're automatically added to that segment when the notification is going out, these automated templates are actually refreshed every 30 minutes. So that's pretty great. I think actually on the enterprise plan that we offer, the templates are refreshed automatically or every 30 minutes. And then with the kind of free service that we offer, I believe the templates are refreshed every few hours. So there is a little bit of a timing difference right there. The other option that you can do is every time a user returns to the app, you can send a notification that way. So then you'll just go ahead and confirm your notification is set, etc. And then you can just go ahead and create that automated message. So now you have your webinar push notifications, and this message is sent to automatically go out. So a really great way to think about this is you can set up a welcome message, and then if the user hasn't come back in a few days, you can create a new automatic message to actually create a user journey for that user. So say, for instance, they sign up for your site, and then you message them to come back, and then they do come back and they add something to their cart. You could set up a separate flow to really message them based on their user activity, which for a user feels like a very meaningful and purposeful experience. And they're actually more likely to build brand loyalty and come back to your site more frequently. So this is great for e-commerce customers, for travel customers. It really kind of runs the gamut when you're thinking about different ways that you can use automated messaging to kind of automate your processes internally so that you're not sending push notifications for every action. It's a great way to do that. The other way that we recommend sending notifications are through the API. So if you're not using our API today, it's a great way to automate workflows to just send pretty personalized messaging to people based on actions they take in your app or on your website. So that's also something definitely worth looking into. All right, I think these are all additional questions that we've had. We'll send that, ClickFunnels. So this kind of answers the ClickFunnels, I think. This is how you would create your user flows. We also offer A/B testing. So this is available today in the OneSignal dashboard, and you're essentially able to set up A/B tests against one specific segment. So you can just go ahead and create an A/B test. I'll walk through this pretty quickly here. You would just set your audience, so you can add your specific segment that you wanted to do here. And then you would just create 2 separate templates with the separate messaging that you wanted to send. So if you wanted to send test A to test out your welcome message, you could send kind of one verbiage in test A and then a second set of notification prompting in test B. Then you would just set to send the notification at whatever time you would like. And that's pretty much how A/B testing works. You're able to get a really good read on the types of notifications that people are responding to. And in a segment, it actually only messages about 2.5% of your audience for test A and 2.5% of your audience for test B. So jumping into delivery here, this is where you're able to see the actual results of how your notifications performed. And again, this is just kind of our silly internal test tool. So these notifications don't always get clicked on, but they're usually pretty sufficient for showing off the product and how it works. So essentially what you're able to see is the high level user data. You can just click on a notification. This one, for instance, had relatively high click-through rates. You can see how often users click. You can see the total number of clicks. And here you'll be able to see the total number of delivered messages, the total number of users that may have unsubscribed from your notifications based on when that notification was sent, and total messages. So you're able to see all of the different audience data here. You can see all the different platforms you sent messages to. So the interesting thing is this also connects with your internal analytics tools. So if you have kind of like a Google Analytics, or if you use an Adobe Analytics and you wanted to connect your analytics tool, you're able to do that as well. It looks like my Wi-Fi is kind of being silly here, but hopefully it'll come back. Let's see. Sorry, I think I'm having a Wi-Fi problem. But essentially you're able to see all of the different messages here, and then the total click rate at a very high level. All right, any questions? I haven't seen any questions that I can see. Let's see, how do I prevent OneSignal to ask visitors? Let's see. How do I prevent OneSignal from asking visitors to opt in again when they didn't respond the first time it showed up and a new web page load? Okay, so essentially when you're prompting your subscribers, you can set the prompt to persist, and essentially if the user exits out of the prompt, you can set it so that the notification only shows once. The nice thing about this is that it gives the user other options to prompt in multiple times, but if you don't want to annoy them with that and you only want to ask one time, you can do that and just set that up. I can send out some documentation on that as well. The other option is you can actually delay the prompt on both the website and the mobile app. So you can wait to prompt the user across web until they've been on the site for 30 seconds. You can also wait to delay the prompt until the user has actually clicked or scrolled through a certain amount of content. And then on mobile, you could wait to, again, delay that prompt by a few seconds, or you could delay the prompt until the user has taken a specific action. So these are all best practices around ways to kind of message and engage your audience. All right, I'm gonna try to log back in here. Let's see. Log in. The only other feature that I wanted to briefly show is actually something that we've added around delivery and the ability to export the data. So you're actually able to sort by advanced filters. You can search all of the data here by looking through. If you wanted to search by specific dates, you're able to do that here. If you wanted to, if you have messages scheduled, you can see that in your delivery options as well. You can see all messages. You can look at messages by the API or by the dashboard, or you can look at messages that have been sent using automated messaging. You can also look by device type. So this is always pretty great. Let's see, scheduled messages. And then the ability to export messages is actually a feature that we've added as part of our paid plan. So if you want the ability to export all of your notifications, you're able to do that in the OneSignal dashboard as well. All right, let's see. So we have a mobile app with iOS and Android users. We are a new site for desktop notifications. We're having problems with our existing provider, reaching people on push notifications with many failures on Android. Okay, let's see. With iOS and Android users. So the only thing that I can say here is that we might need to work with you directly with our support team to answer your specific questions. I'm curious as to why you're having problems with your existing provider. I'm not sure. We can work with you offline with our support team to help get that answered for you, David. How to test notifications from the API, not from the dashboard. We'll send some follow-up documentation on how to use the API. That's something that's a bit more technical, so you'll want to get your technical team involved. But that's always a great way to do it. David, yes, you can absolutely use OneSignal to improve the service. We work again with over 500,000 mobile apps and websites, and I think there's a lot of benefits of using push notifications to engage your users. I keep seeing in the news a lot of brands are talking about how engagement is the new retention, and it's really true. It actually helps you to maintain your audience a lot better. It helps you to give your users pertinent information about actions they may need to take on your website or mobile app. So it really engages your user and prompts them to complete some kind of action, which is always great. I'd be very curious to learn more about what your service is. The other thing that I can kind of briefly think about or speak about is if you are interested in getting started with OneSignal, we do have starter plans and we also have enterprise plans available. So if you're interested in getting started today, you can sign up for one of our starter plans, which start at $99 a month for the first 30,000 subscribers. And then if you plan on having, over 200,000 subscribers, we'd be happy to help you with that. How many push notifications? Another question that just came in is, how many push notifications is too many? So Chris, I think when you are thinking about how many notifications is too many, the best thing that you can really do is think about how you're segmenting your audience. So, of your audience, are you looking at, all of your 1 million subscribers and sending them the same notification? You're really going to want to parse up those segments and say, okay, these users should be receiving these notifications and these users should be receiving these other notifications. Some things that I've seen brands do very successfully is actually to create a permissions and a settings in their app or on their website so that users can actually control their own frequency of how often they receive notifications. Tools like Spotify does this today. We work with a partner that leads breaking news, and they ask their users which category bucket of notifications do they want to be involved in. Do they want to receive only breaking news alerts, or do they want to receive every bit of news that comes out every day? So asking your audience and creating a tool that allows your audience to set their own engagement rates is great. If you don't have the resources to do that, then just understanding, maybe 3 to 5 notifications per day, I think is really the range that you might want to be in. I think that's really depending on what kind of notifications you're sending. If you're constantly prompting with 10% off, 20% off, you might see those click rates go down as you continue to send those. But if you're constantly providing engaging information around, new articles or new features that might be available on your site or app, or new things that the user might want to know, then I think generally people are very receptive to notifications. OneSignal is going to be rolling out frequency capping in the next few months here as part of our product roadmap, which will essentially allow you to set notifications and say, okay, a user should not receive, more than 4 notifications per day from me. You'll also be able to set a few different preferences around that. So that's something that we're kind of working on here, and we're excited to release that in the coming months. And that'll be kind of a feature that's a part of our more enterprise plan, but we're excited to do that as well. All right. Are there any other questions? I think we've answered most of these. If anyone has any additional questions, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, I'd be happy to send over some additional documentation. I know we saw a lot of people asked about prompting, people asked about targeting notifications through the API. Our goal today is to really help you automate your notification strategy, better understand how you can use the OneSignal dashboard for your business, and overall maintain and engage your audience to hopefully continue to help you build your business and grow your business across your audience. So I hope this has been helpful today. If there are no other questions, we can, okay, there's one other question. How do users subscribe to receive web notifications? So this is going to be the prompting that we kind of discussed. So essentially you would put the line of code on the OneSignal site or the OneSignal app. You'd implement the SDK. And then from there, you're able to prompt users to opt into notifications. You can really customize these prompts any way that you would like. So we have a few out of the box examples, and then you're able to customize those examples as well and add your own kind of company and your own branding. So I'll add that as part of a general follow-up to everyone that attended the webinar today. So there can't be a sign-up web page. So you can set a specific web page to only prompt subscribers if you would like to do that. You can make it so that users can only opt in if they access one part of the code or one part of the website, essentially. That's pretty common to do. Say, for instance, you have an email flow and you want users to sign up for email when they first come to your website, and then you want them to play around on the website a little bit, and then you want to prompt them for notifications. You can do that. You can also set it so that a user is not prompted until they've been to your site 3 times. So that's usually that's pretty deep in the funnel, and you won't see as high of an opt-in rate. But once users opt in, they're typically a bit more loyal. So you're not grabbing your whole audience, but you are grabbing a very loyal segment of your audience. So there can be a sign-up web page, or specifically a page that you prompt the users on. Does OneSignal have an opt-in feature for different topics like you suggested? Yes, Chris, we do. This is a feature that we're actually working on building fully, but something that we would be able to do is that you can actually tag your users based on pages that they've opted into. So you'll be able to see, okay, did my user opt in across the news page, or did they opt in across like the business page or sports or something like that? And it will actually help you to create dynamic segments. So anytime a user opts in across any of those pages, they'll automatically be opted into that segment. So that's usually a pretty good way to do it as well. Let's see. All right, does anyone have any other questions? No other questions? All right, well, we're running up on time here. Oh, okay, one more. We'll take this one last question. Can you send us documentation for creating dynamic notifications? Yes, we will definitely send this over as part of the follow-up here. We'll definitely do that. The API is very strong and very powerful and really helps you to automate your notification process. So I'll send over information on how to do that. You do need to create the template in the OneSignal dashboard, but once the template's created, you're able to target that through the API. So we'll send over the information so that you can do that. And please feel free again to reach out if you have any questions. Our support channel is support@onesignal.com. And we're very responsive and able to answer our questions. And if you have specific questions about, signing up for a OneSignal enterprise account, or you want help getting started, we're definitely here to help you. So feel free to reach out to sales@onesignal.com or support@onesignal.com for any technical questions. Let's see. All right. Thanks so much for joining, everyone. Again, we'll send over a lot of this information via a follow-up, and you can look out for more of these webinars coming soon. Clearly around best practices is something that we'll always be talking about. So it was great to have everyone join today, and thanks so much. Bye-bye.